بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. All praise is due to Allah, Lord, cherish and sustainer of all the systems of knowledge, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, sole judge on the day of religion. Thee alone do we worship, thine aid alone do we seek. Show us the straight way, the way of those on whom thou hast bestowed thy grace, not those who incur wrath, nor those who go astray. Amen.
Amin. With Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. I openly bear witness that there is but one God, the only creator of the heavens and earth, the Lord of all systems of knowledge, whom we properly call Allah. I accept all of Allah's prophets and believe that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is a mercy to mankind and a seal of the prophethood. Assalamu alaikum, dear family. It is so nice to be with you again. I once heard a preacher say at an event that I was attending, he said, if you don't know where you come from, you can't appreciate your privilege. And it's a privilege to be here with each and every one of you today. And it is by Allah's mercy. Our speaker today is Imam Tariq El-Amin from Chicago. I don't want to say my age, but I've been knowing him since he was a very, very young man. His mother came through the Nation of Islam, and she is still with us, looking bright and bushy-tailed as ever. So Imam Tariq's topic today is choose faith over fear. And in this moment of despair and depression that many people are going through, we welcome him. Assalamu alaikum, Imam Tariq, and please feel free to begin.
Wa alaikum assalam, Sister Fitrah. Thank you. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. That is, the praise is for Allah, Lord, cherisher, and sustainer of all the systems of knowledge, and we send prayers for peace and blessings upon his messenger, Muhammad. I want to first, again, assalamu alaikum, everyone. I want to thank you, Sister Fitrah, for giving me the opportunity to come in and to share, to join you all in this moment of mutual reflection. And I thank you all for giving me your attention in advance. And I pray that whatever is shared this morning will be beneficial to the speaker and to the listener. And I ask for your patience and forgiveness for any shortcomings that I may have in attempting to present this information today, inshallah. So as we're speaking about faith over fear, I want to put this in the context of what undergirds our fear and what is to be the expression of our faith. So I'm going to share my screen. Give me one moment. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you can see my screen? Okay, all right, thank you.
It's
All right,
loading.
so,
It's loading. It hasn't loaded yet.
okay. Let me know once it's not loading anymore.
Yes, sir, I will.
It's still, yeah, can you maybe open it outside of the app and just as the file, maybe?
Okay, yeah, give me 1 second. So let me stop sharing.
Take your time, Imam Tariq.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I got it back open. Let me. You know what's interesting here is that prior to us coming on, I sort of took a jab at the what I was calling Zoom newbies, um, folks having difficulty, and now here I am.
Oh, you're
So
fine.
yeah, well, that'll learn me.
Take your
Uh,
time.
yeah, okay, all right, I just got it open now.
To everyone on the line, Imam Tariq is opening his presentation. But this is a very patient group, I can tell you. We have learned how to become patient, and so just take your time.
Alhamdulillah.
Mhm. But I'm glad to see somebody younger than me struggling with this internet. That is for sure.
I think it's that Google, I don't think that works as well.
Yeah. Naima, can you help him at all?
Okay, I got it up now. I got it up. So I'll be wait from start. All right, let's try this again. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
All right, alhamdulillah. All right, hopefully we've gotten all of the hiccups out of the way. So as I said, I wanted to address the idea of our faith and our fear, to look at those things that undergird both of these things, especially fear. Um, so I have three words here: question, purpose, and hope. And human beings, we spend a lot of time engaging these three elements of life. We question purpose and hope. And a mentor of mine once told me that the quality of your life depends upon the quality of the questions that you ask. So if you ask small questions, then you should expect to have a small life. Be prepared for a small life. Um, Allah has given us the gift of intellect as a means to probe creation, and that includes ourselves. And this is a way of revealing the laws that govern creation. And when we understand a law, we are able to clearly define its purpose in the context of creation. So this is the idea behind the questioning. And our purpose, when understood and accepted, that's a key point here, not just to understand the purpose, but to accept the purpose. This is what is going to motivate the human being to achieve its full potential. It's our movement in the path of fulfilling our purpose. Actually, I should clarify this. I should say that, it's our, not the achievement, but it's the movement in the path of that purpose. It's not the fulfillment, but it's the movement in the path of purpose that gives us hope. And the hope is for achievement. So looking at the slide here, at the very top, you see the words, what's missing. There's a undercurrent of influence in society that contributes often to fear when we think about the things that we aspire to, right? And the undercurrent of society, it directs our attention, our aspirations, our sense of purpose and hope, right? But it leaves out what society presents to us. It leaves out a very important, no, let me back up again. No, the most important thing that should form the basis of the questions that we ask as it relates to our existence. So in this slide right here, we see a lot of the things that we aspire to have. For those, is everybody on by video? Do we have folks that are listening via on the phone?
Yes, Imam Tariq, we do have people listening by
Okay,
phone.
so for those who can't see, the image that I have up, um, there are a few images. One is a group of recent college graduates. They're tossing their caps into the air. Another is a young man in thought. Matter of fact, this is the central image. There is a young man. He's in thought, and behind him are a lot of different images. and they convey, a sense of deep reflection, deep thought. There's another, which is a nice sports car, and there's another, which is a picture of a beautiful home. Another's just a pile of cash, right? Now, none of these, all of these things these are all nice things, right? Because we're not a people, first of all, we're not a people who take on a life of asceticism, right? We don't take vows of poverty. We do not look down on education. We have grown. And at one point in our history, PhD meant something else. There was an antagonism towards education for those who go back to the first experience. But we understand and we appreciate education now. We understand and we appreciate the benefits of material, resources. We understand the benefit of having good in this life, right? So we are people who pray for and work for good in this life, better yet, excellence in this life and excellence in the life to come, right? It's reflective of the dua we often say, رَبَّنَا أَتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Our Lord, give us excellence in this life, give us excellence in the life to come, and protect us from the torments of the fire. But as it relates to our own work, there's another ayat which reminds us, وَعَلَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى, and that there's nothing for man or woman except that which they strive for, that which he strives for, right? So we understand the benefit of striving and aspiring, right? But this brings us to the answer to the question of what is missing, right? Because at the very top, what is missing in this picture? And how does it impact our striving? How does it impact fear, uncertainty, and faith, right? There's no mention in this picture of the one to whom everything is dependent, right? And in this, when we recognize this, this ayah from Surah Yasin, the 36th surah of the Quran, the 22nd ayah, and it says, I don't have the Arabic here, but the Arabic is وَمَا لِيَ لَا أَعْبُدُ الَّذِي فَطَرَانِي وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. Says, it would not be reasonable in me if I did not serve him who created me, and to whom ye shall all be brought back. Now, what's wonderful here is that this verse, I see this verse, this particular ayat is a touchstone reminder, right? It implies an internal conversation as well as an external response. Now, the internal dialogue, it questions the expected societal convictions, the norms that leave out the most important thing in determining the course of our social aspirations, right? And that is Allah. It is Allah consciousness. So think back to the picture that we just looked at. And at the very top, it says, what's missing? Allah consciousness is nowhere to be found in that picture. But our questioning brings us back to recognizing our creation. And from this, we're able to determine our purpose, because our purpose is going to be embedded in our understanding of service to Allah. Now, the word a'budu, right? We hear it all the time. We think about worship, right? We think about worship, but we understand we're talking about more than just the ritual worship, right? Because we have to ask ourselves, how do I best serve Allah? Right? How do I best serve Allah? And I want to go back once again, just to make a small mention about fear. Fear often occupies space when we have not directed our attention. We have not directed our efforts. Fear fills in gaps when purpose is unclear, where maybe we're not asking the right questions, right? But because we ask the question, how can I best serve Allah, right? Not just in the ritual sense, it's going to bring us back to, as Muslims, it's going to bring us back to our father, Adam alayhi salam, on him be peace. And he was created for the purpose of societal leadership, as a caretaker, as a steward of creation, and as one who would invest in itself to replicate that leadership, replicate that stewardship, and into succeeding generations. This is the Khalifa, right? It is successive authority. It is generational. It is something that is passed down, right, from one to the next. So the purpose of my creation and its connection to hope. Again, now, if we understand the purpose of our creation, then we will align our talents, our abilities with that purpose. And it is in the purpose of fulfillment. Betty, I keep second guessing myself here. Not just in the purpose of the fulfillment, it's on the path of fulfilling that purpose, where we find a hope that is not affected by setbacks, by trials, by any tribulation or difficulty, because the Muslim sees those things as opportunities for purification, right? The worst moments that have the tendency to produce fear in those who are disconnected from their purpose, who are disconnected from Allah consciousness. For the Muslim, these are often, for the believer, these are moments of often defining clarity, right? We ask that any difficulty or tribulation we go through, that these be an expiation for us, right? So we see these as opportunities for purification. And often, as I say, our difficulties can be, these can be opportunities for clarification of our purpose, how our purpose is going to express itself in terms of that idea of leadership, stewardship, caretaking, and also passing on to that next generation. Now, when I think about difficulty and tribulations, while this is not an example of a Muslim, it is an example of the principle in effect. Who is he? And I can't remember his name, but the founder of Starbucks. He was growing up. His father was a delivery driver, and he had an accident. He fell off a truck. He didn't have insurance. Didn't have. There was no workman's compensation, and this situation threw his family into a tailspin, right? And we can imagine many of us have had circumstances where your income is interrupted, and when people say they're living paycheck to paycheck, you see the evidence of that often on the streets. Folks miss a paycheck or two, and that can be the difference between having a roof over your head or not. So you can just kind of leave it to your imagination to guess how it impacted his family, but it deeply impacted his family to the point so much so that when he talks about the reasons today that Starbucks employees have really great benefits, right? They got comprehensive healthcare coverage, stock options, and tuition reimbursement, and a bunch of other stuff. So in terms of health, vision, dental, medical, all of these things. But it goes back to that experience of uncertainty, that experience of difficulty in his own household, watching his father, right? So that became a core element of defining how he would use his ability, right, in service to others, how he would alleviate difficulty. And one of the things that we ascribe to as Muslims, especially in leadership and authority, any position that you have where you have the responsibility for other people, is to make the halal easy, right? To make what is required, make those things easy for people. and I think it was mentioned early on. I think Sister Fitrah might have mentioned the idea of despair, and how there are many people who are in positions of despair, and we recognize that despair, it cancels out hope, right? Despair gets in the way. Matter of fact, despair can get in the way of faith. Despair can get in the way of morality. Despair can get in the way of our obedience. So that is the thing that we want to do our best to ameliorate any occasions of despair that we have the ability to come into contact with. Now, the vast majority of people, they will never be in a position to directly affect the lives of hundreds of thousands of people, directly and indirectly millions of people, right? But what we can do is we know that we can identify the areas where we're able to provide care for others that is reflective of our own ability, our own circumstance. So this means that when we're looking for those areas, we're looking for opportunities to provide the leadership that is assigned, that is in alignment with our intended purpose, our purpose. I want to actually go back. That word we mentioned earlier in that ayat from Surah Yasin, and it says, there are many different translations. It would not be reasonable. And what for me, like, what is there for me? Like, it doesn't make any sense for me to not worship the one who, and the word Fatrani, right? One who created me, but the one who gave me my fitrah, the one who originated me, the one who brought me into existence with a clear purpose. And we see the purpose once again. We go back and we align it with the creation of Adam alayhi salam, right? And it's not a difficult thing to look at, but it's always greater than the individual. It's always connected to society. It's connected to community. So on whatever level we find ourselves able to recognize that is what we that's a part of our challenge. And when we immerse ourselves in that leaves less time for worry. That leaves less time for fear. And we're actually living our faith. So as you all, as you heard from Sister Fitrah earlier, and you may have read in the bio, I serve as the resident imam of Masjid Al-Taqwa here in Chicago. In 2019, so these pictures, these pictures, they bring a smile to my face. I love, particularly the one with our hard hats on. In 2019, we purchased a property that will become our new home, Masjid Al-Taqwa's home, and as well as the Taqwa Center for Community Excellence. And in both of these, this answers the question of how do we define service? How do we define worship? What do we worship? What do we serve? I mean, who do we serve? And this first image right here, this is also on a lunch break. As I said, 2019, we purchased a property. We've got a number of, including myself, folks that are skilled tradesmen. The brother next to me, to my left, is a brother Abdul Khalik El-Amin, who is a retired journeyman electrician. My wife is to the right of me, Dr. Aisha El-Amin, and to the right of her is Brother Imam Rubani Mubashir, who, while not technically has never worked, as a tradesman, does everything, right? So this was an example of us taking ownership of our circumstances, and using the abilities that we had to build what we wanted to see, to build not just the building, but in building the building and rehabbing the building, we were also building community. We were building the community that we wanted, and getting up every Saturday morning, coming together and working, and sweating and and joking around, and it left very little time for us to worry about what we did not have. It left very little time for us to worry about fundraising. It left very little time for us to think about what wasn't there. We were concerned primarily with who was there. We were thinking about who showed up. We were thinking about the good times that we were looking forward to, not, as I said, not just building the building, but to building community. And that is what, and I think that has been a tremendous part of increasing the optimism in the community, is having an opportunity to build together, to come together and working in service of community, working in service of, and I'm gonna segue over to the right, the picture we see here. This is actually at our old location, but we've continued. We have a pantry at the new location that opens up next on the 30th. We have regular, as many masajid do, regular opportunities for community engagement. We come out, we had something called the lunch pad, lunch preparation and distribution. And there we would get together. Matter of fact, it would not just be people from Masjid Al-Taqwa, it would be people from MSAs. The brother next to me in the green right here, I don't know if right here, this is the chaplain at DePaul University, and he'd bring his students, and we'd have other community members that will come to join us just to feed the community, right? And we understand that one of the most basic ways of expressing our faith, right, as given to us by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, says is to feed the people and give the salams, right? And literally that is exactly what we did. We passed out food and we gave the salams to people. We didn't proselytize. We just gave them the salams. We gave them smiles. We gave them love, right? Again, the idea of combating the fear that some folks might have of not knowing where their next meal was coming from, right? The fear of having to worry about choosing between food and paying their utilities, or food and medicine, right? This was a small but consistent effort in that vein of providing reassurance and thereby increasing the faith, not just in increasing the faith in Allah by just through this expression, this community expression, people meeting the needs, showing care, and being stewards of community. And of course, right here below, this is, I'm sorry, let me go back. This is Hajj 2019. Alhamdulillah, my wife and I were blessed to be invited to Allah's house. And again, this is a reminder of going from the individual community to the global community, and how our efforts, the despair or worry that may come along with the things that we don't think we see in society. We don't think that we see enough activity. We don't think we see enough good leadership. We don't think we see enough rightly guided people or programs or whatever it is that we think we don't see enough of. Allah reminds us when we come together that there are millions, right, who are able to come at one time, but there's over 1 billion of us, right? Over 1 billion Muslims who place their faith in Allah, who place faith in Allah over fear, right? And when you are in that place, you get to see people who have, as there's described in the Quran, right? Folks who come on foot, right? Who come on their mounts, people who have done whatever they had to do to get there, right? It said lean on account of their travels. People who are living examples of faith over despair, right? That there was no obstacle that would stand in the way that would keep them from arriving at their destination, right? From recognizing Allah's call on their life, and recognizing, and fulfilling the pillar, right? This pillar of Hajj. All right. And I love this. I'm sure many of you do as well. Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen. Indeed, my prayer, my rites of sacrifice, my living and my dying are for Allah, Lord of the worlds. Again, touchstones. When I say touchstones, I mean statements, verses that become personalized statements for us to bring back up, to use, to call forth during times of difficulty, right? During moments of uncertainty, and during those moments where we're trying to figure out how do we align our abilities with our professed statement of recognition of Allah's greatness, Allah's supremacy, right? It reminds us that everything we do, it is for Allah, right? And when we say it is for Allah, we recognize that we can't give anything to Allah, right? But we recognize what Allah put us here for. And in that vein, it is for Allah. Going back to, again, leadership, caretaking, stewardship, and passing on what Allah has given us to the next generation. I started out by talking about that a mentor, right? And I believe everybody should have a mentor and be a mentor, right? And actually can have more than one, right? But it shows a connectedness and a sense of responsibility, a sense of giving and receiving, right? And it works that way in both cases, right? For the mentor that is older and for the mentor that is younger, right? And that, once again, that's a part of the Khalifa process, if you will, right? Of how we understand our social, our communal responsibilities from the individual to our families to our neighborhoods and our communities and so on, and how we receive that, right? And how we pass that on. So this here, as I know I'm getting close here. I love this hadith here. Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu reported that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Whoever is prayed over by 100 Muslims at his funeral is forgiven, right? He will be forgiven." That's a huge statement, and the reason that I bring this back up, when we think about our hope, we think about how we use our talents and our abilities, when we think about what we aspire to, thinking back to that picture, society would have us aspire to things just for our own satisfaction, right? The education, the house, the car, the money, any status or whatever, all these things are just for the individual, right? But the person who lives in that type of life, when it is time for their departure, when it is time for their return back to Allah, that is a person that leaves here largely unnoticed, right? And often, depending on in some instances, that person leaves this life reviled, right? They say this is a person who had great wealth, they had great resources, they had a top-notch education, but they did nothing, right, for anyone else. Everything they did was just about them. So when we consider the importance of janazah, of it as a recognition of our contribution to community, right? Of us leaving a mark with a community, using our talents and our abilities, right? Aspiring to make, to use our communities as, in a sense of, of being caretakers, right? Of being those that establish justice. When we think about our contribution to community in that sense, that means that when Allah calls us back, we have done the intentional work, not selfish, not trying to be slick or anything, where you're trying to endear yourself to somebody because I hope that I do enough by this person that, they're going to show up in my janazah. No, we don't think like that. But it is to say that I have been intentional about my relations. I've been intentional about using what I have, not just for myself, but for my community. And as I mentioned, most of us will not have the opportunity to directly impact hundreds of thousands of lives directly and millions indirectly. But the vast majority of us in this space right here, as was recognized or represented by the Masjid, right? The Masjid affiliations that people mention. They say, I'm from this Masjid, I'm from this Masjid. We have the opportunity to impact lives on a community level, right? There's an opportunity for use the abilities, the talents, the resources that we have on a community level. So a great part, again, a great part of our fear comes from the things that we don't see happening, right? People talk about we're not far enough along. We haven't done enough. We don't have this institution. We don't have that. We have the opportunity to build those things together. And the question for each of us should be, am I contributing? Are my abilities, are my talents, are my resources, are these in alignment? Am I expressing do they have a community? Is there a community expression in those things? And I think that statement is encapsulated in this quote from Imam Muhammad. May Allah have mercy on him and grant him a high station in paradise. And while I read it, says God created people to be a community, and it is only in community where you get your full freedom to live out your capacity or your ability as a human being. When we consider that a lot of our fear, our doubt, it often comes when we are disconnected. We're disconnected from Allah. We are disconnected from community. We are disconnected from our own purpose, and have not and recognize a potential, but it is misdirected or undirected, not tapped into. So this quote, it really represents, I think, everything that I've been attempting to articulate. It said God created people to be a community, and it is only a community where you get your full freedom. Free people don't live in fear. Free people don't live in despair. And free people are people who are committed to the community vision. They're committed to the preservation of community. They are people who look for and recognize not just their own ability, but they recognize the ability of others. They look for the complement. And as you see, Study Al-Islam under the leadership of Sister Fitrah. Oh, you know what? I thought that was this picture. That's not this picture. This is actually from the 2017 trip to Rome, I believe. That's on the left for the Focolare engagement. Once again, recognizing that we have something of value to bring into the global faith community. Wonderful experience. Over to the right, that's the MOT, Men Al-Taqwa. It was a cleanup day. And of course, us in prayer. I believe this was during Ramadan at one of the Imam's Ramadan observance. Don't remember what year. I think it might have been 2018. Yeah. But needless to say, there are many ways for us to plug into and align ourselves in community. If we take the time to find out, and I would encourage us, number one, in our families, right? And then after that, I would encourage us to do what we can to contribute to our Masjid communities, because this is one of the areas that is most accessible, and it is one of the areas that I hear. I don't want to say I'm speaking anecdotally. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I hear enough grumbling about the condition or direction or achievement of our masajid, but I don't hear those same people talking about how they are contributing. What are they doing to make these spaces, to build these spaces into the communities that are going to really represent that purpose that Allah has given us, leadership, service, stewardship, and once again, passing that on to the next generation. I think in doing these things, we allow ourselves to, I'm gonna stop sharing here. I think in doing these things, we allow ourselves, we leave less time for fear. We leave less time for doubt. And in doing this work, we actually build our faith. We build a deeper connection to Allah, to our fellow Muslims, to our families, and you know, we're in alignment with our purpose. So I pray that there has been something of benefit that has been shared. If there are any errors or shortcomings, you can't say I didn't start out by saying I ask you for your patience and forgiveness. So alhamdulillah, that is all I have. I'll close with Surah Al-Asr and then hand it over to Sister Fitrah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim wal Asr innal insana lafi kusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr.
Imam Tariq, thank you for that, because most of us probably on this line are in a masjid, and I know that the success of any community depends upon the contributions of its members, whether it's, you know, through the service or the donation contributions or the intellectual, you know, we have so many of our second and third generations that are PhDs. I mean, your wife is a PhD. I saw her sitting there on the ground with a hard hat, which I know she has no construction experiences, but there she is contributing to the development of your community, of the community center that you are the imam at. And so you're right, our communities will never be what we want them to be if we don't make the effort to make the contribution on whatever level we can make that contribution. So you're right. I often think about emergency situations, and honestly, the first place I'm going to go is to the masjid if we have an emergency situation. So our masjids need to be emergency ready, and that only comes from the contribution of our community members.
Absolutely. Can I add another thing?
Of course you can. Of course.
You know, when you say that, and I'm sure that I know other imams and other people who have some influence, I believe in Masjid, have experienced this, where I've gotten calls from people or, you know, messages from folks looking for help from the masjid.
Yes.
Looking for a letter, looking for something, and then I ask, well, where's your home masjid? Oh, well, I don't really go anywhere. You know, I go here and there, and it's saying that you want something, but you're not willing to invest. And I don't want to paint with too broad a brush, right? Because there's context that we have to be, you know, mindful of.
Mm-hmm.
But the aspiration should be to plant roots, to be involved, and to be giving somewhere, and not just be that person that shows up and says, well, you're supposed to give zakat. You're supposed to give me something. You know, but that works both ways.
And you're a product of that, because you came up in an environment in Chicago where you see our former teacher here, Imam Salim, where, you know, we roller skated together. We went to almost everything together as a community. And it shows in your dedication towards giving back. I mean, because my understanding is that you have also graduated from chaplain school, and still educating yourself in Islam, but and I know that salaries for imams in our communities are not where they
What
can.
was, what was that word? What was that word? Salary. Salary? Huh. I don't think I've heard that word before. I do want to mention my father. My father actually entered. He entered the nation first, and then my mother came in. I think like a year after. Um, but yeah, and I'm in my first semester. I'm in the inaugural cohort for Bayan Islamic Graduate School's Doctor of Ministry and Islamic Community Leadership, along with a number of other imams in our association. So we appreciate any dua that you have. May Allah make it easy for us and a success and benefit for our community, inshallah.
And so for those who would like to make a contribution, a donation to the Islamic Center that you are part of, how can they do that? Because we know that the community has not all communities. There are some communities, but we know that that the monies that are donated to the masjid are not for salaries. We haven't gotten there yet. The monies are used to keep the doors open, to keep the lights on in most all of our communities. I know that Washington, D.C., and there's a few others where there are exceptions because of the number of members in the community that are financially in better situations. But so for those who may want to make a donation, where can you put it in the chat where they can make a donation, or tell us how we can make a donation? Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I see my wife beat me to it. Yeah, so there is a link in the chat for those who would like to give, to donate. Alhamdulillah, we appreciate you. If you are not able to, but would like to, may Allah reward you for your intentions.
I mean,
and thank you, Fitrah. Thank you for that.
Oh, of course, there are those on the line who can financially donate to the masjid that they attend, as well as to other masjids, and we want to give them that opportunity to do that, because it just increases our barakats, our blessings. And there are many of us who are invested in our national community, and I live in Washington, D.C., and Masjid Muhammad is the masjid I attend, but I feel the very same way about Newark's masjid. I feel the same way about the masjid in Chicago where you are. And there are many like me who feel a vested interest in the national development of our community. So we want to encourage you to donate to Masjid Al-Taqwa in Chicago. And I see his wife, Dr. Aisha, who we want to extend the greetings to, has already put the information in there. So, Brother Imam, if you have no further words that you would like, and I think you made the point very clear that we have to remember how that Allah has created us in the best and has given us everything we need. We just need to access that information. So I'll give you the last words from a spiritual perspective, and then I will close out in announcements.
Okay, thank you. Well, actually, I see a hand up. Do you want to?
Oh, sure, please. Yes, Naima, can you, Mohammed,
Yeah.
go ahead, yes. Mohammed, sorry.
All right, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Imam. That was an excellent presentation. I have a quick question. You put a hadith up there from Abu Hurairah, saying that if 100 people, I think I'm paraphrasing, if 100 people pray over a certain Muslim, he'll be forgiven. So my question is, suppose it's not 100, suppose it's only 50, there's only 25 people. That means that they won't be forgiven? I'm just asking.
No, and that's a great point. And I think one of the benefits of Imam Muhammad's leadership is that, he thought a process of inquisition and thinking and appreciating context.
Exactly.
In the context of that hadith, it is obviously, it would be relevant for that community where you know, they had they had those numbers like that. We may not find ourselves in circumstances like that, but I think the idea is that we aspire to be enmeshed in the community, right, in the life of the community, and giving and establishing our worth and our sincerity so much that for the Muslim who understands the obligation of the janazah, that they want to be there. They make it a priority. So it's really about us touching lives and being a part of the community that we want to see, and not just the number, right? So we're not, we certainly don't get lost on the number, but just think about the overarching principle.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, sir. Alaikum assalam.
And that is a very good point. But I think what it does is also places the responsibility on those doing the work and those who benefit from the work.
Yes.
And so if you know someone that has transitioned, and you know that person has dedicated their time and effort to make to provide services and to make other people's lives good, it's an obligation on you to attend that janazah. And so those numbers are really only numbers, but they do, what they represent is the heightened awareness for both those who are the giver and the receiver. And so that's really important. So if we don't have any other questions for our dear brother, Imam Tariq, I am going to close. Do we have any questions? Bashir Assad is on, and of course we want to recognize our dear brother Bashir. Brother Bashir, take yourself off of mute. And you better be on camera, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. No, I'm only joking. Brother Bashir, take yourself off of mute. Let's see. Naima, can we take Brother Bashir? Go ahead.
I put it on his to ask him to do it, but what would you like him to do?
So he can speak.
Yeah, he has to accept it to unmute on his end.
Okay then. Brother Bashir, you have to accept to unmute yourself now.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I just wanted to acknowledge, and we're talking about the efforts that are made by a community and the efforts that have been made by Masjid Al-Taqwa. And I'm a member of Masjid Al-Taqwa, and I'm on the board. And like many other masjids, and you know, I'm the old man in the house. And as they say, you know, young men for war and old men for counsel. And I wanted to point out too, in all of our efforts as a community, from the first experience till now, leadership is important. And I wanted to point out that Imam Tariq showed great leadership in the development of this community. The project that we had in building Masjid Al-Taqwa, and it was a great project. If you didn't see it from the beginning and see it to what it has come to now, you wouldn't appreciate it. But I appreciate Imam Tariq's leadership. I was on the board. I seen the opportunity there, but I brought some concerns in this particular project, because I seen there was a lot of work to be done there, a lot of money to be spent. And if Imam Tariq knows, I had brought some concerns, you know, that have faith in Allah, but also tie your camels. So I was on the tie your camel end, but he was on the faith end. And faith is something we've got to have. He said, well, we're going to do this by faith. And they did. So I just wanted to express this to this community, that we need to support our leadership, pray for our leadership. And when we do have, when we see we have leadership, that we support that leadership. And I want to acknowledge Imam Tariq and all the imams in our community that are striving to bring these realities into existence, and also the wives of these imams and the women. Oh, you should have seen the women. Hard hats. Look, they had drills, they had jackhammers. I mean, I was impressed. So our hard hats, these men hard hats go out to the women. Our hard hats go out to the leadership of these men, these imams who are working with no salary. They're eating celery. But this community is a great community. We have that history from the past, and we have that history now, and it will go into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Bashir. And I do want to say thank you for all the information that you send me regarding Imam Muhammad. May he be in the highest place in paradise. His talks and his lectures, because you make it possible for me to share that with the community. So I want to acknowledge you. And you better be glad you said the women too, because I was about to get on your case, but now I don't have to. So with that said, we're going to close out. I just want to say that next, oh, yes, Imam Tariq, go ahead.
I want to say three very quick things. First thing is, I want to thank my wife, love of my life, Dr. El-Amin, for her consistent partnership. She carries an equal share of this weight with me. And since I am terrible at PowerPoints, she helped me with the PowerPoint. Second, I want to say that going back to the ayat we mentioned, wa laysa lil insani illa ma sa'a, what is there for us as human beings except for what we strive for, right? We are striving to, as a Masjid community, as many around the nation are, to show the measure and the importance of the leadership of Imam Muhammad and this community that we come from, going back to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So here in Chicago, we're doing a couple of things. One is we've established the Chicago Black Muslim History Tour that happens twice a year during Black History Month and Juneteenth weekend. And the next thing we're doing is coming up November 4th. This will be a smaller one, but the next year we're expecting this to be on the scale of the MLK breakfast that happens here in Chicago every year, where folks come from all around. This year we are doing the inaugural Masjid Al-Taqwa Imam W.D. Muhammad Legacy Brunch and Scholarship Ceremony.
Wow.
So we're establishing the Full Bird Scholarship, and we're looking forward to building upon what we've been given, not just saying this somebody should look at, but look at the results of what that leadership has produced and what it is continuing to produce, inshallah. So I just want to put that out for everybody. November 4th, we'll be doing the first one, and next year, this one will be at Masjid Al-Taqwa. The next one, we anticipate not being able to hold it in this space because, inshallah, the response will be commensurate with the impact of his leadership, inshallah.
Send us the flyer and we will help you to promote it. And we want to begin to say and include, and many of us do, W.D. Farad, because it is back to his leadership. And we want to not leave him out, because Imam Muhammad acknowledges the contribution that he made to our existence today and where we are, and especially to his own contribution, Imam Muhammad. I just listened and he made. So let us, I know it's been a hot topic, but we want to correct that, we want to, especially if we're talking about acknowledging the good work that all of our leaders have done. So I only say that to say, as we move forward, let us go back to the leadership of W.D. Farad, and may he be forgiven his sins. With that, I'm going to say, in the Study Al-Islam newsletter is the video on managing stress that Dr. Patrice promised to provide to us. Take time to review it and apply to your daily routine. Next week, we will have Ambassador Waleed Shamsuddin. He will talk about business opportunities and travel to Africa. He is one of our second generation Muslims in this community. Thank you for joining Study Al-Islam. And if there's a topic that you would like to know more about, send an email to Study Al-Islam. As I shared earlier, I think one of the going into the next year, inshallah, I'm putting him on the spot, Imam Fahim Shuaib, who has a wonderful beginners a review of prayer, the things that we may know and what we don't know, or what we may have forgotten. I'm going to ask him to review Salat with us and kind of go back to the fundamentals. We have a lot of new people, we have a lot of old people, and we have a lot of people that never that in the transition may not have learned certain things that they should know. But with that said, I'm going to say thank you again, and Imam Tariq has already closed us out, and I'll see you next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Have a pleasant week and be safe.